So, marking the quiz. You got the quiz? And done? Woohoo! Because I'm being strict this time on 0. So many people didn't do it. These are all exponential graphs. How can you tell? Because the x is sitting up there as an exponent, which means they all, and you need to memorize this, they all either look like this or like this. One we call a growth or increasing, one we call a decay or decreasing. How can you tell? It all depends on the base. 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 What's the base? The number at the bottom of the x. So, you ready? Number of x-intercepts for every exponential graph. How many x-intercepts do we have? None. 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 How many y-intercepts? 1. Now, what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is the leading coefficient. The y-intercept is that there. Because the y-intercept is when x is 0. If you put a 0 in for the exponent, you'll have some number to the 0 power. Any number to the 0 power is 1. So what you really have is this number times 1. Let me erase those. So the y-intercept for the first one would be when x is 0, y is 4. For B, when x is 0, y is 0.3. For C, when x is 0, y is 9. For D, when x is 0, y is 3. End behavior. Every single exponential graph goes from quadrant 2 to quadrant 1. Or you could say, Caitlin, from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2. I would live with that as well. But they all inhabit the top area. By the way, you can get one to inhabit the bottom area. If you put a negative in front of everything, just like the parabola, that flips it, and now it's below the x-axis instead of above the x-axis. We're not dealing with that this year. I may include that next year, because I think it makes more sense. I'm not a big fan of the way the textbook does it. Anyways, for all of those, the end behavior is from 2 to 3 or from 1 to 2. 2 to 3, from 1 to 2. 2 to 3, 1 to 2. Domain, how far left? Forever. How far right? Forever. How far left? Forever. How far right? Forever. For all of them, the domain is all reals. What about the range for an exponential? Well, it's everything above the x-axis. What that really means is everything above 0, but not touching 0. And that's the same range for all of them. Increasing or decreasing. You could graph this. You don't need to. I can tell you whether it's increasing or decreasing. Which of these two graphs are decreasing, are getting smaller, and how do you know? Okay, how do you know A and C must be decreasing? What about the base? Yeah, fractional base. So decreasing, decreasing, increasing, increasing. We'll do a half mark for each of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, heck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 4. This question will be out of 12. Brandon's math teacher decided to play a dice rolling game. Cool. With the students during class. The teacher gave one die. Now, the fact that some of you are saying you don't know how to do this question here tells me you haven't done the homework. And in fact, what bothered me was on the last test, on the polynomials test, the last 2 or 3 pages, many people didn't know how to do, tells me they didn't do the homework. They copied off a neighbor. This is pure graphing calculators. So if you don't have them out yet, get them out. And they're giving me data. The first thing I have to be able to do is enter the data. So for me, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then with 0 goes 36, 25, 16, 11, 7, 5, 3. Did I make a typo at all? I hope not. Now let's actually read the question. It says, if the students got either a 1 or a 6, the student would be out of the game. Brandon and 2 of his friends were the last remaining players, and the data below shows how many rolls it took before they won. Okay. Using a graphing calculator, determine the equation of what? This is the key phrase. This is what tells you what equation to find. An exponential regression. Okay? The reason I'm pointing that out is on your last test, I said find a cubic regression, and many of you found a linear. Or I said find a cubic, and many of you found a quadratic. You have to read. They're making a suggestion as to what kind of graph it is. I've got my data entered. I'm going to go graph 1, and hey, look at that. That does look like an exponential graph. So I'm going to go calculate exponential. Now on mine only does base E. I think next year I'm going to make everyone do base E just so all of our answers look the same. But one particular equation then would be this. Y equals 36.87. All of you should have that part. And then my equation is e to the negative 0.41x if you decided to go base E. If you didn't go base E, it's 36.87. What if you did y equals a b to the x? What's your b value? What did you guys get? Give it to me at least 2 decimal places. 0.6632 to the x. Now I'll take that, and what I would do is I would give you 1 mark for that, 1 mark for that, but I would take a half mark off if you were missing the x as an exponent and the y, except x and y are dumb letters to use. Let's see, what's x? Number of roles, so you know what? How about an n there or an r there for roles or for number? I'll take that. Oh, you know what? I also have number of students left, which is also a number. I would go R for roles and N for students, or S for, or something. And I'll take it if you have a little Y and the X there, but pick letters that make sense. Is that okay, Ellen? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. So this page is out of 14. Those of you that said, I don't know how to do that, it's straight technology, but you have to know how to use the technology. I deleted the name and forgot to include the name. Somebody purchased his favorite hockey card for $8 in 2005. He has been tracking the value of the hockey card every year since he bought it. Okay. And it says, using a graphing calculator, find the exponential regression function. I better enter this data quickly. Menu, stat, exit. Delete all. Delete all. So year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. 8, 13, 22, 40, 72, 124. It says find the exponential yeah, that looks kind of like an exponential curve. Often depreciation. Remember compound interest that we did way back when? That's an exponential curve. So compound interest when it's loans and you're making money, or compound interest when it's decreasing money, that's an example of an exponential curve. In fact, I'm thinking next year I may do compound interest after this unit, because then the graph will also make some sense. Note to self. Assuming I'm teaching this next year. Flunk and find out. Calculate. Exponential. So I'm going to get this equation, y equals 7.628 0.628 e to the 0.555. For you guys that have y equals, you'll still have the 7.628. What do you have as your base? Ellen, nice and loud? 1.743? That? By the way, what that's telling you is it's increasing 74.3% every year. That's a pretty good investment. Also tells you this is fake data because they don't increase like that, I assure you. Anyhow, okay, and I'll take that equation there, and again, I would give you 1 mark for that and 1 mark for that. Again, I'm a nerd. I'm probably going to go up here, T for time, and here, what would be a good letter to use for value? Yeah, V for value. But you can have an Y and an X there. I just like to use, the reason I use algebraic letters, especially those of you in physics know, it really helps you keep track of stuff better. Determine the appropriate value of the card for each of the following times. 6 months after purchase. Got a problem. What's the time unit in the data? Every what? So I can't just type in t equals 6. How would I do 6 months as years? Okay, I'm going to let my t value equal 0.5. I'm going to copy this equation into my graph. Oh, got to select the equation every time. Draw. I forgot, Mr. Dueck. So I've copied this equation. What I like about these calculators is they usually pick a half-decent view window. So 6 months, is that an x value or a y value? And are they asking me to find an x value or a y value? They've given me an x value, so they want me to find a y value. You know what? G-solve, find a y value when x is 0.5. Apparently, it's going to be worth $10.07. Not t equals, v equals. Okay. 18 months after purchase, what time value will I use to represent 18 months? If I want 18 months in years, what's that? Okay, 1.5 years. So, G solve, Y calculation, 1.5 years. $17.50, round off properly, 55 cents, right? $30 months after purchase. 2.5 years. G-solve. By the way, there's also a quicker way to do this in the draw menu. The other thing I could have done, if I'm just doing a whole bunch of y calculations, typing in x values, I could hit F1 trace, because by default, that goes into the y calc. In other words, if I go 2.5, $30.58. 42 months, that's t equals 3.5 years. And in the trace menu, if I just go 3.5, $53.28. So 1 mark for each of those. Okay? Now, after this was lessons 7.1 to 7.3. This is looking at exponential graphs. Then we looked at logarithmic graphs. So you can also expect on your test, I'm going to give you some logarithmic data, some logarithmic graphs to look at. Can you give yourself a score, please, out of 20? If you didn't do the quiz, give yourself an honest score out of 20. If you did the quiz and left it at home, I'll put up with it as long as you honestly did the quiz. Give yourself right now, though, those of you that have a copy of the quiz in front of you, the score that you think you earned or deserved. I'm being strict this time because I have to lovingly smack you upside the head. And if you would be so kind as to pass them inwards, please. Folks, what are we working on? Listen closely. So your test, quiet please, Colin. Your test was going to be Friday, but because of the valedictorian speechy thing on Wednesday, it's going to be moved to Monday. This, please listen close. Rosanna, I want you looking here and listening close. Thank you, dear. This is going to be due Friday. On Friday, I'm going to mark the written section as a practice quiz. Okay, I've included the answers to the multiple choice. I'm going to mark this written section, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, 5 pages of stuff. You have the remainder of class to work on it. You have Wednesday, even though I won't be, you'll come to class on Wednesday, and I think the assembly takes most of class. Folks, if you don't have this done for Friday, I'll probably keep you in after school Friday and have you do it. This is not acceptable. The work effort, trying to do the 2 words together. Effort, there's my work ethic and effort put together. It's been pretty bad. I emailed a number of you and your parents about taking your study blocks away. I haven't had to do that before, but there was too many of you. So, get it done. Last thing before I turn you loose.